There we go. I feel better now.
Now we know we're in frame.
Right.
I would hate if all of our viewers couldn't see me.
See you? I know.
I would just feel so bad for everyone if they couldn't get a good picture.
You got to give them what they want, you know?
give the people what they want.
Nice, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to Weddings Uncensored, where we drink and talk and drink. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Allie, and we are here breaking down the good, the bad, and the downright crazy of this whole wedding industry. Cheers! Happy
Cheers.
Tuesday!
Cheers. Happy Tuesday.
And we have a guest with us today. We'd like to welcome BB, a.k.a. DJ Keelez. Did I say it somewhat
it.
correct?
Bum, bum,
Okay,
bum,
thank you.
Bum, 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 bum.
Obligatory, absolutely.
You don't carry around a little mini air
I
horn
have one
with
on
you?
my phone if you
Is that-
believe it or not, absolutely.
Please.
I do believe
Wait.
it, actually.
Wait.
Because if you will indulge, I will indulge.
No, 100%. I need to hear that.
Yay!
Stop it.
That's much better. I like you had that like ready to go.
Yo, that wasn't even 10
It's on the
seconds.
first screen.
That
didn't
wasn't even 10 seconds.
Didn't have to search for it in your app.
Surprise the,
She's a professional. Yes.
I'm not surprised. I'm actually not surprised. That felt on brand. So.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, obviously, we're here bringing the party today.
Yes.
We're talking about wedding DJs and all of the other tangents that we would intend on going on
Music and
today.
DJs. Yes.
Music and so many things. But can you just tell us a little bit about your business, how you got started, how long you've been doing it, all that good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been full-time for going on about 13, 14 years.
Yes.
I've been a DJ since I was, I took DJ classes, if you will, if you want to call it that thing, when I was like 18. And so like, I'm turning 40 this year. Not aging me so how long that is. Do the math, folks. Listen, I look good.
You do.
That's right. That's right.
You do.
That's right.
All
Let's
that
get
matters.
it.
That's it.
All that matters is the pretty face, okay?
That's
As long as
it.
you look good.
That's
That's
it.
all that matters, right?
You got that down. You got more. No, you got less issues for sure.
Right.
And so, why did you decide to get into weddings, or how did that side of
Oh,
things
yeah.
start?
Right. So when I first learned to DJ, of course you're like, oh, I want to be at a nightclub and everything like that. But that side of the game is a whole different ball game in terms of what you have to deal with, the drunk people you have to deal with, the promoters, and people thinking you're a promoter, and it just becomes a whole different ball game.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, and then just the rates are insane in terms of what people try to pay you, and it's very hard to get what you're worth in that industry.
For
so
sure.
That sucks.
I got a phone call one day. Somebody's like, "Hey, do you want to do a wedding?" I'm like, "Sure." He's like, "I'll pay you $250." I said, "Oh, okay." This was years ago. I said, "Oh, it sounds great." At the time, I was like, that sounded like a lot of money. So I accepted it. It was actually on the, I lived at San Francisco when I learned DJing, but my first wedding was in LA on the Queen Mary in Long Beach.
Okay.
He walked into the room, put his hands in his pants, and like pulled out a wad of cash. And he's like, "Here's $250. Let's do this." And it was a ride. I will say that. It was a ride, that's for sure. But I got through it. And I learned a lot, and I've definitely progressed from there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Good.
It's an industry you kind of have to be thrown in the deep end to a little bit,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, your first wedding is always a good story too. Like you really don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
At all.
I think
So-
that when I train some of my girls that are on my team and stuff too, is like, we have a new person that's training to be a lead right now. And I'm like, you just do it. Like, you just figure it out.
You just kind of
Which I
go.
know, because I can teach you all these like skills and how to build a timeline and whatever, but until you're like in it and you're doing it, there's just so much that is like unaccounted for, and that is kind of crazy along the way. Do you have anyone on your team, or is it just you?
So yeah, actually, I recently expanded to DJ Keelez and Associates, so I have a roster full of actually.
And associates.
Oh yeah,
Ooh,
we're
now
on
we
the
got a
very
list.
official.
Hey, we got a list. Let's get it. Yeah.
And co.
Yeah, that's it. We're all female. We're all LGBT, female or non-binary, LGBT DJs.
Nice.
Not that no hating on the guys or anything like that is what it is.
Oh, we
but-
can hate on the guys.
No,
It's okay.
She does the same thing. She did the same
well,
thing.
my bar company is all female bartenders.
Oh, great,
yeah, and same, kind of the same thing. We like a little female,
You got
non-binary
female
power
energy.
in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a crew. I think there's like 5 or 6 of us. I have a couple people in the works too. Might be more right now at this point in the game, but primarily there's a good chunk of us working
awesome.
and doing our thing, and they're all great and rocking. And it's an awesome thing to be a part of the industry and have the ability and gift to be able to expand and give to the industry, especially to female DJs who kind of underrepresented. And we need a little more of that in the weddings. So women, a touch of woman ain't bad. That's my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I love that. I found that in my business, like growing my team has been one of the most rewarding parts of the business.
Absolutely.
Like I obviously love the weddings and my clients, but that has been, it's a difficult part of the business as well. It's super challenging and it's nonstop, but I find it to be the most like personally rewarding. Like giving other people work, and then like you said, like giving back to the overall community, and like it's just a really cool thing that we're able to do.
Absolutely.
When it comes to something I'm recently am going through is scaling. I only will hire maybe, I think like 2 or 3 other people that I really trust that know how I work and can do the work the same way. But something I realized recently is the customer service experience is different between each person and definitely myself. So like when I'm with a couples are like, I bring the energy, I'm hype.
Yeah.
There's not, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but there's not many videographers that shoot and interact with the couple.
Take off their shirt the way that you do.
Exactly. Exactly. All the fun.
Not everyone can do it.
All the fun stuff and all the good stuff. But when a client hired me specifically or thinks that they're hiring me specifically, now I have to know, I'm like, okay, it's a videographer. Like it may not be me or it will not be me. I'm already booked.
Yep.
Do you have the same issues with your other associates of how do you like quality control, but also set like expectations clear for the client?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly
like,
what you're
people
saying.
like look at us and they're like, that's what I want.
Yeah.
But no one's like you.
Yeah.
And no one's like me, and no one's like her. So you know what I mean?
And it's actually the opposite too. Sometimes people look at you and be like, "Oh, you might." If anybody knows me personally, they might be like, "Hey, you're a lot." Like, I come in hot, and it's but I know when to rein it in and everything like that. But it's also a fine art. But yes, absolutely. So I have just mastered the art of complete transparency with the clients and saying, hey, listen, you're hiring an associate DJ. It's not me. I'll let them know of that particular DJ strength and emceeing and saying, hey, listen, this person's strong, this person's not. And, let me know what you is. And then also having to be transparent in terms of like the equipment. Like, hey, listen, you see me with all these fancy lights and everything. You might be getting somebody who only owns, 2 speakers and, 1 light, something like that. Like, and some people will be like, I'm here for it. You know what I mean? And other people are like, no, absolutely not. And I've actually... It's an interesting overlap, too, because some people who you think there's no way they're going to spend on the higher package go that way. And there's people who are like, oh, they absolutely are going to do it. And they're like, no, I want this. So, but you find you're leaving money on the table. So you just kind of have to stay humble and understand it's not about you. It's about getting the client what they want. If they're cool with that, then, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect.
That's really good. So, okay, well, digging into that a little bit more, like how does your process work as far as when clients first find your Instagram or find your website? Like how does the whole booking process and then planning kind of go?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, usually clients reach out, website, Instagram, whatever, however they find me. And then we usually will have an initial meeting and we'll see where they're at DJ wise, if they want somebody who's going to be a little more high energy, somebody low key or whatever. And then I'll usually set them with the best match, from there accordingly. And usually enough, as you get through your career, you might find people who you're like, actually, I don't think we are going to be the best match for you. You know what I mean? Like you get those couples who are like, I have a Spotify and I just want this. Like, hey, maybe you should just play that. And
maybe not hire a DJ.
And or say, listen, you're going to pay DJ prices just to play that. And if that's what you want to do, then I'm fine. Like I'll take it, but understand it's not my best work. And it's tough to put your name on that too because people don't know that's not you. And
for
so
sure.
like, all you do is play. So it's a complicated beast. But meeting with them, full transparency, letting them know what to expect, what to get, and even reiterating, like if they come back and say, hey, this and that, and say, okay, I just want to make sure you realize you're only getting this amount of setups or this type of lighting and this and that. And, and then once they make their decision, I do everything digitally. So they get, planning forms, contracts, all that good stuff. And, this day and age, it's all virtual and Zoom.
Yeah.
And I've worked at so many venues in Los Angeles, I rarely have to do venue viewings because I'm like, oh, I know that person.
I already know.
Like
Yeah.
But, I will if I have to. And I try to be hands-on and offer a very VIP service for my clients to where they get direct access to me. But I also have, some people who answer my emails, but they understand how to get that VIP access. And I say, hey, listen, if it's a client, if it comes through and it's a big name client, like, you know what I mean? If it's somebody huge, if it's Disney or somebody crazy, you know, let me handle that. At least be nice when you answer the email.
Mr. Disney.
Please have good customer service.
Excuse me. That's a good one. And then pre-wedding, do you do like a more specific meeting, or do you just kind of get everybody's song choices?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, how much guidance do you feel like clients need as far as like picking song choices and sort of the vibes that they're looking for?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'll definitely meet with every client before the event. Usually, you know, a month or so out before the event, and every client's different. Some people are super hands-on and they're like, no, I absolutely know what I want. And other people are like, you know what, play what you want. I just want to, you know, it to sound good. Or some people might have some crazy idea where they're like, oh, we're wearing fairy wings and we want you to play nothing but this video game soundtrack. True story, by the way.
I only want to hear Trolls and Frozen. That's all.
I believe you, yeah.
It's great, but it's awesome. Like when you're in the moment and you see them going down the aisle and they have the fairy wings and you hear the music and you're like, wow, this is a moment. This is a thing.
Yeah.
So I've learned to appreciate the quirky things like that and actually kind of take advantage. You know, just be like, oh, yeah, this is a cool thing to add to my repertoire that I can do this.
Totally.
And then, you know, I also do breathe a sigh of relief when they're like, whatever you want, anything you want. Sure, acoustic, romantic music. I'm like, let's go.
So cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I like that you want to be flexible and adapt to the client.
Absolutely.
Something selfishly I'm learning is like, oh, maybe people don't want a highlight video. Could that possibly be an option? You know, and now it's actually more of a thing that, at least for me. So I like that you're wanting to be flexible, but it helps the client also feel more comfortable with you of like, oh, they're just here to support whatever I want to do, and this is how I want it, and they're going to execute it.
Yeah.
Period. You know, that's ultimately what we're all there to do anyway.
Yeah, we've been having that conversation a lot about like not necessarily telling clients what they want, right? Like they can kind of go outside the box, and that we as vendors should be asking the questions and, you know, kind of fact finding to see how we can best serve them. Because like you said, it's not our wedding. It's not it doesn't really matter if it's my taste. It doesn't really, you know, matter really at the end of the day. And it's a tricky thing between us being creatives and artists. And like you said, like if you're playing someone else's Spotify list and you're like, this is not my fucking best work. And you do want to still represent yourself as an artist, but it's a tricky little line that we walk. But I do agree, having to just put your own shit to the side and being like, how can I best support you? We are in the service industry, right? And so that's what we should be doing.
But there's also some vendors will not be that way, and that's okay. If they know that this is their lane and this is the only thing that they're professionally good at, you know, or confident in, then hey, stay in that lane. And if you want to always provide the same thing to the couple, then do that.
Yeah.
It's obviously working for some people.
For some people, it's working.
Some people it's working. So I'm not going to say like, we should all just be the most flexible people in the world and vendors, but I do think there's, if you want flexibility, look for a flexible vendor. Right.
Yeah. And early in the process, like if you're searching and you're asking questions and a vendor is making you feel dumb, or like you don't have, you know, you're wasting their time, like that's not a good thing. Yeah. Like they should be willing to talk to you, to answer questions, to talk through things. Like that to me is a huge red flag when you're searching for vendors.
Because I know some DJs where like it's pretty much the same 3 or 4 different sets for the whole night.
Yeah,
and
the formula.
I've worked with them. So like, it's not that they're not good, and the clients are still happy with those people, but they know exactly what they're getting.
They know it works.
They know what music they're going to be listening to. So, and it is what it is. So
it's just a matter of knowing what works and knowing what you're going to get. Sometimes you have like an hour for dancing, an hour and a half or something like that. So if you know, like I know DJs who start every dance set with like, September or I Got a Feeling or something like that. And, it works and people get up and I get it. And look, I'm as guilty. I mean, I kind of have a stance on I Got a Feeling. I try not to play that unless a client wants it. It's really not my thing. I will do September. No problem with September. But no, it's
so much Bruno Mars.
So much Bruno,
so much Bruno Mars.
I was like, I want to dance with somebody.
Whitney.
Yeah, Whitney,
well,
for
Whitney's
sure.
That's a bop. That's a bop. Don't talk. Don't even talk.
No. I'm not saying from a bad sense. I'm just saying music that I know
song we hear all
will
the time,
be played at a wedding.
Right,
100%.
Yeah. Now there's like the new like standards too, like Mr. Brightside or what's the one that like everyone the killer song and stuff.
The 90s stuff.
The emo, like there's like the emo kids that are now
I'm
getting
obsessed.
married
and everything like that.
Yes,
And then you also have like the
Yes.
Mo Bamba crowd too that are
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you never know what you're gonna get.
I think it
So-
depends on the culture too, because
Yes.
like I don't know, Nigerians all love a certain
Yeah,
few
absolutely.
artists, and
Yeah.
the Latinos or the Mexicans or the Spanish, they all love a certain little genre.
Oh
So,
yeah, and they all expect that I know every one of those people. Every single, they're like, come
You
on
may not
in.
be fluent, but you know what song I'm talking about right now.
Some random country you've never heard of. Don't you know what we listen to?
How do you not know all of our cultural
Yeah,
dances
absolutely.
that we are going to
And they make me feel
perform?
bad too. And I'm like, when I go home, I start researching.
Yeah,
I'm like,
right.
I'm like, who knew? That's
Yeah.
what they listen to. And it's
Yeah.
That should have been something the couple should have known ahead of time. for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
So
Well,
don't play the DJ if you don't have specific songs. You probably
I've-
should have done your homework.
I've actually learned to ask couples like, hey, what do you think your demographic is going to be like?
Right.
Are we dealing with older
Yeah.
people? Are we dealing with younger people? Is it a neutral mix? And because, and I have an example, like I DJ'd for this gay couple. It's two guys. They're nice guys. And they're like, you know what we want? We want nothing but a WeHo nightclub vibe.
Yeah.
It's going to
Right.
go down. So you know what I'm picturing? I'm picturing like it's my home.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
hey, it's
Yeah.
I come correct with everything like that, only for it literally to be everybody over 60.
Yeah.
Like maybe two or three of their friends, if even that, everyone's over 60. And like, I'm like, I can't play this. You know, it's like, what am I going to do?
I mean, you could, but
Yeah.
So I was finding some like Beach Boy remixes.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
what
yeah.
I could.
Yeah, the techno Britney mix is not gonna fly as well. Yeah.
No, so I'll tell them, I'll be like, okay, so I'm going to ask you again, like, make sure you're telling me
Yeah.
the truth.
No,
like, we
that's
have to
good.
know. Yeah.
That's
Well,
good that
and
you're
I do
asking
think
that.
that's good. Like, it's so funny to me because some clients will definitely play music to their personal tastes, but I'm always like, you do have to play some crowd pleasers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, as much as this might be your thing,
Yeah.
like, yeah, does grandma want to hear like the B-side hip hop all night? Probably
Right.
not.
Yeah.
But it's also your day, so it's another kind of like tricky line to walk a little bit.
Yeah, no.
What's
I
wrong
mean,
with the B-side?
I like it. But like, if you want people to dance,
yes.
you need to play some fucking Beyonce.
Yeah.
And
Accurate.
that's just how it goes at a wedding.
And some grandmas, though, like the other day I was doing a wedding and grandma, like Pony came on and they put a chair and grandma sat in it.
Oh,
and I'm like,
hell
wow,
yeah.
you
Let's
never
go,
know.
Grandma.
Like, grandma. It was a whole thing and all the guys were like taking their shirt. But like, that's not every grandma, but you see it. But that usually stems from a crowd of dancers. And
yeah.
the older people are on the side just so happy to see everyone dancing that they just want to get in the mix. So no matter what you play, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite client is people who don't discriminate. They're like, I just want you to play whatever makes people dance. I'm like, I love you so much. It's the people who are like, okay, so I don't want, I just want to dance somebody. No, this is how we do it. No, Dancing Queen. No, Bright Side. No, this and that. And then they eliminate every like popular bar song. And you're like, okay, well, here we are. And, I do my best and I try to get them dancing, but it's like all night, of course, everybody's coming to you like, can you play this? Can you play that? Or the people who are like, I hate group dances. And every one of their guests is like, you know
Wants
what
to
do
keep
it.
it
Yeah,
shuffle.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah. That's so funny. Well, that actually leads me to two of the questions that some of our listeners sent in was, do you have any songs on your own Do Not playlist? Or like, are there some songs that you're like, just like, fuck this? Or
Apparently
that
I got
you
a
get
feeling.
requests? Yeah, like what are the Do Not playlist songs?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I Got a Feeling is definitely up
That's your
there.
own personal
yeah,
one.
it's my own personal. Like, I just kind of can't do that. I mean, like, I will play, Shout, which is a real thing. I would rather not if I didn't have to. I like the song. I appreciate Motown and its greatness.
Yeah.
I've just seen one too many awkward off-time
Yeah,
jumps.
yeah.
I can't. I just kind of can't do it.
A little cringe.
Yeah,
okay.
but outside of that, really, what I've learned to do more than anything is love songs that I never knew I'd love. Like you would see, Dancing Queen is a bop all across
Yes.
the board.
Yeah,
You do a
yeah.
university event, they're like Dancing Queen, and you're like, how do you know Dancing Queen? And they're just loving life.
loving it.
Yeah, and so there's certain, it's
September.
yeah, September. I did UCLA before all the crazy, but I did UCLA a few weeks ago, and that was on their must play September. And I'm
Yeah.
like, really? Like, who am I looking
Yeah.
at? And they danced. They had a whole like group dance. Like,
Oh,
it was a whole
yeah.
thing.
Love
So
I
it.
do feel like ABBA has had a little resurgence.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Man After Midnight is like the
Oh,
new
yeah.
jam.
yeah, hey, it's a bop.
Get it, get it, get it.
Hey.
It's so funny. Okay, and then one of the other questions on that same note was, how do you save a dying dance floor?
That's when you got to bring out that cute shuffle.
Bring out the big guns.
You gotta have it.
September, round 2.
You know?
Let's get it.
I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, it is what it is. You got to really kind of see like what's happening with the crowd. Sometimes you got to play that. Sometimes you got to, or if the
Yeah.
client's like, absolutely no, I don't care what's happening. You can't do that. Then you just got to kind of absorb the fact of what it is. But yeah, I mean, really, at the end of the day, you got to pull out a favorite hit. If you can pull out a favorite hit like a Cupid Shuffle or something like that gets people on the dance floor, you're going to get them back. The hardest part about that, though, is figuring out the song to play after you get them back on the dance floor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're like, yes, I did it. Wait, I don't have anything prepped right now.
Or like, what's the next move from here? You're constantly reading the crowd.
Like, that's the most nerve-wracking thing is, like, especially, like, if you're doing an event and there's a speaker and the speaker's like, okay, folks, coming up, we've got the best dance set you've ever heard in your life. And meanwhile, you have queued up like some random like Teddy Swim stuff. You're like, oh, I thought we were leaving. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Like frantic. But you got to do it. But I've learned. I mean, you learn to adapt and overcome, and you keep stuff in your bag. Like you don't throw all your
Everything.
cards on the table unless you have a 45-minute set. Then you're getting all
You're
my
just
cards.
doing all the bangers
You're doing
in a row.
I'd imagine even at the end of the night, you're like, damn, I still didn't get to play like these 8 songs I really wanted to.
Do you know how many times I've been in the car and I'm
You're
like,
fuck!
I didn't play that one.
Ice Spice.
I remember I played this. This would have been perfect after this song. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny. Well, and I do, like, from my experience of many years of watching dance floors and stuff too, and I tell my clients, like, it's okay that the dance floor kind of ebbs and flows a little bit, right? Like, it's okay that it's not packed for 2.5 hours straight. Like, that is natural.
Yeah.
Like, your guests are going to go get a cocktail. They're going to have dessert. And, like, this isn't a club. It's okay that they might step away for a minute. Because I think sometimes couples will panic if it starts getting quiet for a moment.
I mean, like, people need a break. You
Yeah,
know?
and
Like,
that's natural, especially when you have a long dance set. It is natural.
Grandma can't
that it
dance
will
for
kind
an
of,
hour straight. You know, she's just sit down for a couple dances. So don't play all the grandma bangers immediately. Yeah.
Well, and then another question, as a planner, I do this, but if we have some flexibility in the timeline as far as getting dance floor things done, by that I mean bouquet and garter tosses or cake cuttings or a money dance or, those types of things. Like, I'll usually tell the DJ, like, I'm going to kind of leave this stuff up to your choice expertise on like when to do it, because I feel like those can also be a tool, right? To get people on and off the dance floor and like get people's attention.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I tell my clients that all the time, like, hey, listen, what's your priority? If you don't want to interrupt your dance floor, we're going to knock everything out before your dance party starts.
Yeah.
And we're going to use it to our advantage in terms of figuring out a way to get people up there. And if we're going to interrupt your dance floor, like, let's do it in a way that we get people back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't just do a cake cutting without having a reason to get. So I usually would say, if you're going to do a cake cutting, like let's say they do a bouquet or whatever, like let's do that so that people have a reason to get back onto the dance floor. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then like, the group photo is just the classic of like, hey, let's do that and get people on the dance floor.
Yeah.
But people are kind of hip to that game though with that group photo, because sometimes you do it and they're like, oh, here we go. It's that cheesy group photo time. I'm like, oh man, stop it.
People are catching on. They're catching
They know.
on.
They're starting to know.
Right.
We're just going to delete that blip from the podcast.
That's
No, I'm just
so
kidding.
I want to know though, what are your thoughts on that photo though? Have you seen those
The group photos?
The group photos,
Yeah,
like you can barely see anybody.
Yeah, no, you can barely see anybody. It's all sentimental for the couple.
Yeah.
And
That's all
it's
it
a
is.
tool, like you said, to
it's a
get
tool,
people on the
absolutely.
dance floor. I don't think that's the
You're
framer
not gonna-
or whatever.
you're-
Yeah.
You don't see it online posted on socials.
Yeah.
Think
No,
of it that
that's
way.
true.
It's true,
You
right,
don't
right.
see it posted anywhere. But if you don't see it on social and people are still asking for it, it just means something to them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
no,
it's probably
absolutely.
making the album, but
Yeah.
it's probably not
Exactly.
framed on your
yeah,
wall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It goes in the album of
Yeah.
like right before the dancing starts or
Yeah.
before it really got turned and it
Yeah.
got really
What
fucked
they look
up.
like before, yeah,
Yes,
exactly, yeah,
exactly.
right, right.
Here's a before and then we're not showing any after.
Yeah, the
That's
group photo is interesting because it has gotten popular, not just to get people on the dance floor, but also like post ceremony. I've had people do it during cocktail hour. I just feel like if you have less than like 75 people, it's okay.
Yeah.
But trying to get like 150 people
no.
together
Oh,
is
no.
just dumb.
That's
and I've
bad.
had, because some clients try to do that,
Again,
and I'm like,
it's-
this is just not working.
Right.
Like, I'm frustrated. We're all frustrated.
Everybody at the wedding, other than the vendors, mostly, are toddlers.
Yeah.
Can you really get 150 plus toddlers together to sit down quietly for 5 seconds? No. You cannot.
Drunk toddlers on top of it.
No,
I see
absolutely
upset
not.
photographers. They're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to get the photo.
Yeah, or
but
like
know that
all
that's
the
not gonna
chairs
be
we
the
have
best
to move.
photo.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Just, it's silly.
Yeah,
it's really
so
silly.
People will be like, "Do we need to move? We don't need to move this.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's
I
fine.
need to get this done."
That's so funny.
Right.
So you recently got married.
I did, yeah. Hey,
Yes,
yeah.
that's right.
Okay, show the ring.
Yeah.
What camera? What
Yeah,
All of them.
All of them. Camera 1, camera 2. Can you just talk about your wedding planning experience a little bit and how maybe that gave you some different perspective or some different empathy for couples that you're working with?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, I mean, first things first is hire an amazing wedding planner. My wedding planner, shout out to Renee, Moxie. I don't know if I can shout out another company, but
Go for it.
Please
Shout
do.
all
Please
the
do.
companies you
Hi,
want.
Renee.
No, yeah. So, Moxie Bright Events, Renee Dallo is amazing. She is just a lifesaver. And what people don't realize, I think, is how calm under pressure wedding planners are. And when you're getting married, everything seems so urgent. And for a wedding planner, they're like, I've seen this 1,000 times. It's fine. Like, we're going to get it done. But for you, and especially for like my wife who doesn't do events like me, so where I'm like, listen, we're going to get it. She's panicking. And so I got to mitigate that. And I'm like, so it's a whole thing. But it was a lifesaver to have a planner there to like save you. And like if I put a post online, she'd send me a text and she'd be like, are you okay? Is everything fine? And like I just really thought it was like above and beyond. And it was like the little things of like having glue to fix a shoe that you would never think of, or you lose a button and like, oh, I have a sewing kit. And you know, but even outside of that, just to answer questions logistically speaking that you wouldn't even think of, right, as a person getting married. So
and you're a vendor, and there was probably still so much that you were like, I hadn't fucking thought of that, or I didn't know, right?
And that worked in my favor and also to my detriment because I knew a lot, and so and I wanted to do a lot, and so and anybody who's seen you know the videos or photos, right, you knew I did a lot, and I was just like, you know, I have one shot at this, and I not only did I want to do it for myself, but I wanted to do it to show my clients you can do an amazing wedding, and you know where there's a will, a way, and a budget is what I tell people because it's not cheap.
No,
but it's worth every penny. Like when I live that moment, and I think of the moment. So like as guests came in, we had paparazzi greeting them with fake cameras, and then a Joan Rivers drag queen impersonator, right? Because you got a drag queen. So then they came in. They also were greeted with a champagne hand wall. So they rang the bell. That came out. So everybody loved that. Like people still talk about that.
Yeah.
So then we did the ceremony, which again I did too much. I custom.
She admits it. She admits it.
Could have gone overboard.
So I did a custom entrance for my flower people and ring person that we flower person and ring person actually. It started with a helicopter sound, okay? That was super loud because we had like a Hollywood theme. They had like a scuffle. Somebody stole the ring and everything like that. It was a whole thing. And like people came.
It was a show.
Yeah, it was
a show.
Yeah, the London Hotel in West Hollywood. People came out to the balconies and were like,
was that the London?
Yeah.
Oh, I fucking love the London.
I got an Instagram message right after my ceremony of somebody said, I don't even know you, but I just saw your ceremony and I love how extra that was. It's like so great.
Hell yeah.
So I started with that, and then cocktail hour. I mean, when I say I did too much, wait till you hear this. And this is why Renee probably loved me and hated me at the same time. I can imagine. Yeah. So we had a Jack Nicholson impersonator for the cocktail because it was in Hollywood. We always Hollywood. So you didn't tell anybody. So everybody, still to this day, some people think it was the real one.
Yeah.
And valet was like, I thought that was
Jack.
It
was him.
I thought that was Jack, but he pulled up in a Toyota. So I don't know. So that was a super cool thing. And then as we transitioned up, to open the dance floor, we had a Lady Gaga impersonator and break dancers too. So it was just like,
my God.
It was a show.
It was great. Yeah,
that's
it was
awesome.
Great. Yeah,
that's
so I had a good time.
That is so wild. I love it. So definitely learned the importance of a planner though, and a good planner, and having someone on your team for that.
And also connections too, because I don't think I would have been able to do those things like the paparazzi had it not been. Yeah, so Unifier Entertainment, if anybody's interested, great company just to kind of make all your dreams come true. I've never seen a company that you can send an email with a crazy idea and they're like, oh yeah, sure, you want somebody in a champagne glass doing contortion?
Done. Yeah, we got it.
No problem. Just pay for the parking, we're good.
It's a hire for a circus. Yeah, a circus for hire.
Yeah. Well, anything is possible with money, like you said.
That's it. No, and the parking is in addition to the fee.
Yeah.
For the right budget.
Will you feed me and pay for parking? Cool.
All your dreams come true.
Yeah, but it's a process, but definitely, and also it's expensive. And that's the one thing I will say is like, listen, it's expensive, and you're going to get sticker shock. Yeah. But when you're in the thick of it, don't give up at the end of the game. Like you can't start cheaping out at the end because you spent all your money on your vendor. Now all your vendors are cheap. Like no, you have a $100,000 venue, you need to have another
that caliber,
for your vendors because it makes a difference. And you know, the London's not cheap, but the caliber of service comparison is unmatched. So I would do it again in a heartbeat.
You get what you pay for these days.
Actually, I wouldn't do it again, but I would do it again.
You're glad you did it the one time.
It was a cool story to tell, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I'll keep DJing. That's for sure.
Yeah. And so as a queer person that has gotten married recently, and as a queer vendor that especially caters to a lot of weddings, and like you said, your team, what do you feel like overall the landscape in 2024? I mean, obviously we're speaking to Southern California. There's a lot of people that are all over the country and world that listen. But what are your kind of thoughts on what you're seeing these days, like overall?
Well, this year's an interesting year. I think this year is definitely more of a budget conscious bride. My experience for 2025 is more of a client who wants to have a great wedding. So I think the people who want good weddings are waiting to save to do that. The 2024 people are kind of just like, hey, we're just going to do it. But with that being said, there are clients of 2024 who are doing it and, doing it big and who really want to get it done.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just
a little shift.
It's a little shift, but I still see that, the interest for weddings are there. I think that TikTok and bad advice doesn't help. I think you see a lot of things where everybody's like, I could do this, and look what I did for my wedding. All I had to do was glue this to this, and you're like, are you kidding me?
And it only took me 20 minutes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Or making their own cakes or some other like random thing, and you're like, yeah, could you? But really, like, you got to look at that photo for your whole life of that. I mean, I guess it's a story to tell, but the stress, and it's just not worth it in my opinion. And like, for me, it's worth every penny to not be stress free on your wedding day and to enjoy it and to, the fact that I have the memory of walking in and seeing all of my guests' face and like literally I can remember the gasp of like when you walk down the aisle, like I won't forget. If I was stressed about baking a cake, you think I'd remember that? Like,
True.
Yeah, the DIY is wild. The stuff that people think that they can accomplish. Yeah. And I do agree that I think TikTok has been maybe a detriment. I mean, we would said the same thing about Pinterest like 5 years ago, and then probably the same thing, but I think TikTok feels more aggressive for some reason.
Right. Well, it's so saturated too.
The amount of influence it's having on people though is like pretty wild.
And how easy. 8 seconds and they're influenced. 8 seconds of just any random thing and they're like, oop, that's it. I get it.
I like this product.
Yeah.
Shop now. Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So if having like a really killer dance party is important to you for your wedding, which it's not the priority for some people, right?
Yeah.
Which is, but if that is, which we have a lot of clients that ask that, do you recommend any other like accessories or add-ons like lighting, props on the dance floor, like disco balls? Like what do you see that you think really helps to add to make the dance party crazy?
Yeah, no, I mean, so for my wedding, we had break dancers come out to open the dance floor. So that was a cool trick to get, not in lieu of a group photo, we had that to kind of get people dancing. Yeah. But the caveat of that is you got to brace yourself for people watching the break dancers too. And so it can kind of like work in your favor.
Yeah.
I think props are always fun. The more people are having fun and the more that they're like big
the light up sticks.
The light up sticks are very popular.
I like the cutouts of the couple's heads.
Cut out.
See the big heads.
Those are sick.
Yeah, or their pets, they do too. Like
dogs.
So that's super cool. I think anything with lights is great. I love a good like cannon blast if you want to go there or something like that. Like I think
sick.
If you want to be epic, any kind of Vegas type thing that you can do, which is like that, and that's all Vegas is lights and smoke, like really, and a loud DJ.
Yeah.
Light, smoke, laser beams, just
and
everywhere.
Yes. A few minutes, you're good to go. It's fine.
Yeah. Got the app. We got the app.
She's ready to go.
Yeah.
Shoot air horn. All right, cool.
I definitely feel like we're seeing the light up sticks at like almost every wedding these days. Like somehow that got like a really big resurgence
with the DJs.
Or like the clients are providing it or whatever.
The foam ones. The foam ones.
It does help. But I think that it really it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier is like know your crowd and know your people, right? Like it doesn't matter if you have like an older group or somebody like that's just not going to dance. Like you could pull out every trick in the book and it's not going to turn it into like a rager. It's just not. Right. And that's okay. So knowing who your people are and
know your crowd.
How you can best cater to them.
And being okay that if one crowd dominates, like I had a wedding the other day where the older people dominated surprisingly enough, and we ended up going into like 60s and like all this other like Runaround Sue and everything like that, and they were dominating, and she's like, I love this, because all she wanted was people to dance. So it wasn't about the music more than people dancing. It was just people
having a good time.
Yeah. So I mean, it's interesting. It's a fine art of reading the crowd and keeping that energy going, and also making your client happy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think knowing your guests is probably like the first step though, because if you know the experience you want to have at your wedding. If you want to have the rager that should and probably will affect either how many people you are inviting or who you're inviting. Mm-hmm. Like if you don't care if it's 200 people because you want to have a rager, you can have the 100 people that are going to sit and have coffee and watch people, but you still know you're going to have the other 100 that are always on the dance floor, you know? So
yeah, it is. I definitely notice a bigger wedding is easier because it's just a numbers game. It's just a ratio. Exactly. You're going to have more party people there regardless.
Yeah.
So, but if you have a 100 wedding party, right? Yeah. And a lot of them are older family, your party won't be like that. Even if the 7-8 people that you can have a really good time with are there, it's only 7-8 people on the dance floor.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my advice though is if you as a person getting married stay on the dance floor, you're crowd is more likely to stay on the dance floor.
Totally.
So many times you see the couple getting pulled to the side, hugging people, and then everybody's just kind of like waiting. But once they come, everybody gets excited, and then they get pulled off, and now it dies.
Yeah.
But I've seen, couples who are on there all night long, and everybody's just on the dance floor because they don't want to leave because they're like, oh, if they're here, I'm
couple's
here.
here. I can't leave.
Yeah. So you have to put your energy in it.
I will say, okay, I just shot a wedding in Manchester, so in the UK, and
That's in the UK.
we'll probably have to do a completely different episode about their weddings and what I learned and how it could and would be really cool to apply here in the States. But one of the things that is very uncommon is for the couple not to be together the entire night. The entire night, the couple was either dancing together or together talking with other guests at the bar. They didn't separate from each other unless they needed to go to the bathroom, but they always met back up. I think I probably have I'm going to say at least 45 minutes of footage of the couple dancing together.
Yeah, that's nice.
In the States, I'll be happy if I get 2 songs.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm so happy when the couple finally decides to dance together.
Yeah,
for
that's
2 or
interesting.
3 songs.
Yeah.
And it didn't hit me until I went there. Then I'm like, yo,
they're hanging out.
that's fucking awesome. Like the day is about them, and you would think that they would always be together. But post ceremony, how often do we actually see the couple together at our weddings?
Yeah, you're right.
It's not very. I don't see it very.
That's interesting.
More than 20 minutes, maybe. Mm-hmm. Other than that, the groom's doing his thing at the bar, the bride's with the girls, but hardly ever is the couple together. So I just thought it was super awesome in the UK that they were together the whole time. But a little disappointed
in here.
To be
well,
honest.
we do talk about that a lot, though, that the guests will follow your vibes, you know, or just in general, you can just tell if the couple's more relaxed. The whole wedding feels more relaxed. And I think it's such a trickle down. Your vendors are going to feel more relaxed, and that's going to pass on, and that's going to pass on, and how you've been through the process. And if you're dancing, people will dance, and don't underestimate that, I guess, to couples, how important that part is.
And even to grooms, to what you were saying too. The other day I had a groom who was dancing more than I've seen a groom before, and my assistant's like, he's really dancing, he's having a blast over there, he's having a good time. And I'm like, I haven't seen him. And at the end of the night he was just like, I was just here to have a good time and spend it with my bride. And you can see him the whole night. He was just he couldn't dance. He was just he had 2 left feet.
It was the same thing with the other couple. The groom was just bouncing and weaving everywhere, but I'm like, yo, this is just pure happiness.
It was so
right
good
here.
though. I wouldn't have changed it for the world. It was so
I'm
good.
like, you can't say one negative thing about this guy because you could just tell he's in love with this woman. He's excited to be here, and he's having the time of his life.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Absolutely.
It was awesome. Yeah.
So one of the other questions from our viewers had to do with emceeing. And for us, we talk about this a lot, the importance of a good MC at a wedding. So can you just speak to your experience with that, how you kind of navigate being an MC and the importance?
Yeah, no. So people definitely underestimate that. It's you would be surprised how many times I get thanked by guests of thank you so much for being here to tell us where to go because we wouldn't have known.
Yes.
So even just the minor thing of saying, hey, go from point A to point B, so they're not confused. And sometimes people don't want you on the mic, and I'm like, you don't understand how much you're going to shoot yourself in the foot when it comes to guests knowing what's happening. Because at the end of the ceremony, they're all looking around. They're like, where do I go?
Yeah, people want direction.
Do I sit?
Yeah.
Can I get up now?
Yeah,
Do
right. Yeah. And then with that, for the grand entrance, it's good effect. It's all right. It's all right.
I was like, please don't fall.
We're getting crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, for the grand entrance too, having a good MC makes a difference because I'll be I'm really good friends with my DJ. I'm not calling DJ out at my wedding or anything like that, but I will say one critique that I did have was the grand entrance just wasn't up to the energy level that I would have wanted it to. You know what I mean? And if I could do it again, I would have recorded it myself. But I also get that I am a lot of energy, so I can't expect that from somebody who doesn't have the energy, right? And so that's why I would ask the client, are you ready for this energy? But, it's great. And then when you're on the mic and you give the energy, you see people's face light up. And they want nothing more than to do that. And then it's also taking it a step further of, what can I do to make the other vendor's job easier, right? So, for example, the other day I did a grand entrance and I had all the guests lift their napkins up. And quite frankly, I didn't see the napkins on the table until the last minute because it was a white linen and a white napkin.
Oh, yeah.
And I glanced and I saw it and I'm like, everybody, 1 second, just grab that. And I just played it off. I forget what I said, but I just seamlessly did it. They did it. They grabbed it. And the photographer's like, that's so good because it adds movement to the photos.
Yes.
Like the room was white and the photos look absolutely amazing when I saw it. And I'm like, yeah, no, it totally makes a huge difference to have that MC. And then on the dancing too, like when I'm on the dance floor and I'm like, hey, put your hands up, and you see people put their hands up, like they want it and they're looking at you like, what's the next level of instruction?
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me what to do now.
Yeah, exactly. Call and response. What are we doing? Yes.
And as much as I'm not like the lead group dance type of person, but I find like if I'm behind the DJ booth and I'm just kind of like clicking to the Cupid, or I'm just letting them know I'm cool with that, they're fine with that too. And they want to know that you're not too cool to kind of have fun with them. You know?
Right,
That's what's important. And I'm not too cool for anything. Like, I'll YMCA with the best of them. Like, I got no problem. Like, know, if that's what you want to hear, I have no problem doing it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, so you're it's good because you're reminding us you're there to entertain.
yeah, that's the most important thing. Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, emceeing is a crucial part of that, because the same energy with the YMCA of me saying, all right, everybody put your hands up, versus just hoping that it happens organically.
Yeah.
But it also, you know, I can say the plight of the MC, though, is when you say hands up and everybody looks at you and they're like,
No,
and they don't put
I don't
their
really
hands
want
up.
to.
And you're like, okay,
Yeah,
fine.
fine.
No hands up this
No.
year. It's fine.
Fuck your hands.
It's all right.
I won't ask you to do shit for the rest of the night.
Sorry to bother you, folks. I'm just here. Let me know if you need me.
Really put you out.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, I do think that's a huge one, is the emceeing. And I will have a lot of couples that are like, oh, we don't want all of that like craziness, the napkins in the air and stuff,
Yeah.
which is okay.
Sure.
You don't have to have it to that level or that energy, but it is like, it's absolutely crucial that someone is there on the mic for those things, giving people direction, introducing toasts at the very minimum,
Yes,
you know?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's one of the key parts about hiring a DJ, in my opinion. It's not just all the equipment and the playing of the music and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And as an MC, you got to understand it's your responsibility, folks. I'm looking at whatever camera, this one right
Yeah, go for it. You
And
tell
it's
them.
your responsibility, MCs, to know people's names, know how to pronounce them, check their pronouns, folks, because let me tell you, it is 2024.
Here we go.
And it could be she, her, they, them. We don't know, but let's just keep it real. Do you know what I mean? And you have to make sure, because there's nothing awkward than when you pronounce a name and a guest yells out the correct pronunciation. Like, it's just a
No.
oof in my stomach.
So cringy.
Oh, I hate it.
Yeah.
So, but so many people, you see them, or they just don't even know the names, or they're like, whatever, and they just keep it moving, and you're like, whatever. Like, I hate that. But
Yeah.
that's a pet peeve. I'm sorry. I have to.
No,
love it.
and
I
that's
love it.
good. And
you
it
deserve a bum 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 bum. Yeah.
That was a mic drop moment.
Yes, it was.
A
It
mic
was
drop.
100%.
Right.
But yeah, and I like that. I don't care or whatever. That should never be the
Yeah.
sentiment that's coming from your vendor, right?
Right.
We should. It's our job to care,
Right.
if only for
Yes.
this one day for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We fucking care today.
Yes, yes.
I care about your sister's
100%.
name. I care about your aunt's fish allergy. Whatever
That's
it
it.
is, today
Right.
I care.
That's it.
Tomorrow I will not remember any of
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
names.
Absolutely.
After tomorrow, I don't have to care. But tonight, I will.
Absolutely.
Yes,
That's it.
exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
No,
very
that's
real.
awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
That's very good. I like it. Well, why don't you tell our lovely listeners and viewers where they can find you on social media, your website, pump yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So once again, folks, I am DJ Keelez, owner of DJ Keelez and Associates, proudly LGBT and woman owned. Find me on social media at DJ Keelez. That's DJ Keelez. I'm assuming we're gonna have some words or something, but if
Yeah.
not, you can find me.
We'll put it in the show notes.
I got you. All right, folks. DJKeelez.com is my website. And if you want a little more, Google me, baby. I'm just saying.
We're gonna have to post some
I like
video
it.
from
I
your
like
wedding
it.
too.
Yeah.
After this.
Oh,
We'll
yeah.
post it.
Give us some
Yeah.
BTS clips.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds magical. All of so many
Right?
impersonators.
Exactly. Seriously.
So good.
It's so good. Well, cheers. Thank you for being here.
Thank
and
you.
thank you
Cheers.
to all of our listeners. And we will
Thank you, BB.
see you next Tuesday.
Peace.
See you guys.